Hi, everybody. It's Keisha with Unlimited for Life Coaching, empowering entrepreneurs and career professionals to be leaders of heart and mind. But like I've said before, my videos are for anyone who's watching and who find this to be helpful. And speaking of being leaders of heart and mind, I'm going to focus on that today, talking about bridging or creating a bridge between the mind and the heart, the mind and the body. You know, we talk a lot about having relationships with our significant others or our children, our parents, our coworkers, and our friends. But the most important relationship is the relationship with yourself. And the way you build a bridge with the relationship with yourself is by connecting mind and heart. So I want to talk about how a practice that you can do when you are on the path moving forward towards a goal and all of a sudden you are dealing with doubt, you're dealing with overwhelm, or maybe even anxiety. But these emotions are coming up for you and they're so turbulent and so overwhelming that you feel like you just need to quit or just give up. I had somewhat of an instance like that yesterday. It wasn't that I wanted to quit or give up, but like entirely, but just for the day, I wanted to quit and give up. So, I was going along on my day, making progress and being productive, feeling really good about myself. I woke up and created a new habit of reading articles from some business magazines, which I like doing. And, I started my day off that way, and it put me in the mindset that I wanted to be to accomplish my goals for the day. I went to the fitness center and I got my workout in, came back and made sure I rehydrated, which is something that I'm working on, making sure I get enough water throughout the day. I did some house cleaning, and then I was ready to work on some things for my business. And I decided I'm going to leave my house and get out. Get out of my home space and get out in the public because I do a lot of work here and I know how it can have an effect on your well-being. And so I was gathering up some of my things into my bag, my laptop, making sure I had everything that I needed. And then my eyes landed on my car insurance card. And I recalled having a conversation with my insurance person saying that my card was expired. And she said, well, you should have gotten one in the mail. And then when I checked the mail, it wasn't there. And, just made a mental note. I need to make sure I get this insurance card before I go out and drive again. And so when I looked at the insurance card, it was like, oh, God, before I can get in the car and go, I've got to sit down and try to get into this website and at least bring up my digital card. And in that moment, all of a sudden, I just became overwhelmed and frustrated. And I just threw everything down and I was just like, just forget it. Just forget it. And that was the perfect thing to do, actually. You see, my thoughts, there were thoughts that were running in the background of my mind that were generating these uncomfortable emotions, but I was trying to push through those emotions on an unconscious level. And that was, I finally reached my threshold, and that's what caused me to all of a sudden say, forget it, and just throw everything down. The reason that was perfect is because I was not being present with myself. And that's the first step to having a relationship with yourself. That is being present with yourself. And so what tends to happen when we are in this world of busy, doing, we're not fully in our bodies. We're not paying attention to our thoughts and whether they're helpful or not. We're not paying attention to the emotions that are coming up for us. And so we're disconnecting from ourselves, and our relationship with ourselves begins to weaken. So that moment of saying, forget it, and sitting down on the sofa with myself was the best and smartest thing to do in that moment. In the mindfulness community, there is a saying that if you are sad or depressed, more than likely you are in the past. And if you're anxious and overwhelmed, then you are in the future. So when we're in the past or we're in the future, we are not in the present and we are not in the reality of the moment. Sitting on that sofa and totally clearing my mind and just sitting there, just pausing, was that moment of coming into the present moment and reconnecting with Keisha. And so then I was able to immediately, because I practice mindfulness, tune into my breath and just bring that awareness to my body and be in that moment and come back to a place of centeredness and stillness. And when we get to that place of stillness, that is when the wisdom that we have within comes through. And so what came through for me was, no, you're not done. No, you're not going to forget it. You're just going to pause and be here with yourself for a minute and get recentered. And so I did some breath awareness practices, but I want to add that that's just the first step. What I see often and what I've done, admitting myself, confessing in the past with mindfulness practices, it can be a little tricky because, we are guided to be aware of our breath and get back to being centered and being present. And then we jump up and then we move on to the next thing. But I want to invite you to take an additional step. Once you get centered, once you become aware of your breath and come back to the present, there's another step that I encourage you to take. And this is an emotional intelligence practice. Again, building that bridge between mind and heart. I began to backtrack and, to know myself more, to become more self-aware and say, what was it that triggered me to feel overwhelmed and to just throw down everything and decide that I'm not going to go forward and do what I intended to do for the day. And one would think that it was the insurance card, but it wasn't. The insurance card was the climax. Before the insurance card, something else happened. As I was gathering all of my things, an email came through and I received a notification on my phone. And I got an email from this company that I really value their content. And the tips were very helpful. But I realized that I gave that email meaning. And the meaning that I gave it was, Keisha is not doing enough. And that was the thing that set me off the even keel path, that place of presence and mindfulness and feeling really good and accomplished about my day. That was the thing that threw me off track. And so I went back to thinking about that email and I asked myself, first I took note. I actually pat myself on the back and said that I was doing a great job up until the point where I read that email. And then I gave that email meaning to say, I'm not doing enough. And so, I did that fact checking step that I talked about in one of my other videos. Am I really doing enough? And I looked at all the things that I did this past week and on that particular day and said, yes, as I am today, I am doing more than enough. The tips that were in that email were very helpful. Those are things that I will apply in the future, but not today, not even tomorrow, not even this week, maybe 2 weeks from now, because I'm not there yet. Maybe a month from now, because I am not there yet. And it is okay to be exactly where I am. We have to take baby steps, and we can't allow emails and videos and training courses or whatever to push us beyond where we are today. Yes, we do need to stretch ourselves, but it's important to not stretch ourselves to the point where we are stressed overwhelmed and unhappy and unkind to ourselves. So we have to practice self-compassion, but we also have to be honest with ourselves and say, can I really do more? Am I really doing all that I can? And my answer was, yes, I've really stretched myself. So I was able to go back and look at a pattern that takes place in my consciousness where I look at what people might suggest that I could be doing or maybe should be doing, and recognize that I am the leader of my life and I decide what I should be doing and how much I should be doing, and making sure that I keep self-care at the top of my list. So that is the emotional intelligence piece, looking at your triggers and saying, when this happened, I felt this. These are the thoughts that came up for me. What is this emotion telling me? What are these thoughts? What are the clues and the data here telling me, so that I can practice self-agency, sovereignty, and be the leader of my life, rather than throwing my hands up and saying, forget it, I'm not going to do it. And yes, I did gather myself. I got my insurance card on my phone, got my bags, and went to the library and achieved the things that I set out to do and more. Because I had come back to myself, I was centered, I was focused, and I was in the present. So I'm going to share with you a quick mindfulness breath practice that you can do when you're feeling overwhelmed, so you can take that second step of the emotional intelligence practice. You want to just sit and be in the present and take in a few deep breaths, inhaling through the nose, exhaling through the mouth like this. And if you're feeling really overwhelmed, it's recommended that you do sort of like a sip breath at the top of that inhalation, so you can get additional extra oxygen to the brain and to the body like this. So you're going to inhale through the nose. So notice how when I got to the top of the breath, I took in a short inhalation for additional breath and then slowly released it through the mouth. So you can do that a couple of times to bring down your energy, to really get centered, to calm that nervous system. And once you get to a place of stillness, just feel into the body, just scan the body for any emotion. And you may feel it in your chest, you may feel it in your back, maybe the back of your neck, maybe your hamstrings. It could be anywhere in the body. Just feel for the emotion. And once you tune into that emotion, just say it several times. Overwhelm, overwhelm, overwhelm. And you may feel multiple emotions. Just allow yourself to simply state one emotion at a time. And you'll notice that that sensation in the body will gradually dissipate. An important thing is not to judge that emotion as good or bad or uncomfortable. Just allow it to be. And slowly it will begin to subside. If you have multiple emotions, just do each one by one. And then when you get to that place of calmness and centeredness, go back and revisit. What is this feeling? What is this emotion trying to tell me? What was my trigger? And for that specific event, what meaning did I give to it? And is this meaning that I've given to it true? So I'm out of time in this video. I hope that you found this to be helpful. If you did, let me know in the comment section. And of course, if you like to work with me with success coaching, if you're a career professional, entrepreneur, and you want to get some assistance in achieving a specific goal in those areas, you can click on the link and schedule a free strategy call with me, and we can talk about what your goals are and how we can apply emotional intelligence and mindfulness practices to help you get there. You all have a great week.